Hi there, I'm Annie. Welcome to my crafting corner. So I'm currently knitting a Esther sweater, and I'm working on the back yokes. I'm not super far, but you can see it here. It's starting to come together, which is really cool. I'm starting this podcast because I thought it would be fun to do. I've always kind of been interested in creating content, although I thought maybe my foray into YouTube would actually be along the lines of making instructional videos. And I think I still want to do that, but video editing just seems like a whole thing. And, in the spirit of just doing things, I thought a podcast to start would be good because I do want to share my journey. I just think I have so many ideas on how I want to execute my videos that it's kind of prevented me because I get really into my head about how to set up a camera and all the different angles. And it's crazy because I actually, have lots of experience with camera work. I used to do photography on the side for a little bit, and I do graphic design and illustration. I've done it all I've done it all while exploring various job spaces that I wanted to pursue. So I thought this would come naturally. Obviously, it has not because I've been talking about this for a very long time. You don't know that, but I do. Anyways, I thought it'd be fun to sit and chat and, just kind of talk about why I'm doing this in the first place. So last year, I had a baby and he's great. He's 8 months now, and seeing his development has been crazy and fun, and I wouldn't change it for the world. The thing is that I am a project person, and I don't know if that really resonates with any of you, but I kind of need to have a thing. I think I just need to be constantly growing in some form or fashion, and I like it when there's like some physical aspect where you can actually see the changes really quickly. And that typically just happens in the arts for me. So last year, before having a baby, I was very into woodworking and sewing. I actually was about to get started in pattern drafting. I actually got is it called lectern? The lectern pattern making set inspired by with Wendy, and I never really got to it because things just got chaotic around the end. When he was born, I made a button-down shirt, which was cool. Made the Ola shirt. I gave that to my mom and was going to make one for myself. And I just kind of stopped because you just need, I say you, but I really mean me. I need time to sit down and really make sure that things are I need to sit down and make sure that things are the way that I want it to be. I need that kind of control. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kind of particular about how I want to finish my projects, and there is a standard of good enough. What you might come to learn about me pretty quickly is that I am very much into maintaining a standard, and a lot of that really has to do with sustainability these days. That's why I'm making garments. I'm making garments because I want to slow down my consumption in the world, basically, and stop being so influenced to buy through marketing campaigns and things like that. It's just fun to try and make your own clothes. I think there's a whole journey around it, right? I've actually made quite a few articles of clothing at this point. half of it I've given away. But actually, during my pregnancy, I wore most of it because I was kind of thinking that far in advance. Because my sewing journey started back in 2020 with quilting, and then it slowly, like, just evolved into actual clothing. So I made like shirts, tops, button-ups, uh, pants, dresses, hats, a dress shirt for my husband. That was a big one. It's actually like over there. But yeah, I think where I'm at now, I had a lot of fun experimenting, but I think where I'm at now is now that I have all of that experience behind, like backing me today, I have a better understanding of just fabric type, movement, drape, how breathable things in. So I live in Austin, Texas, and it's super hot here for the majority of the year. And then there's like a few really cold months. You basically get, it's like summer is half the year, maybe more than half the year. Fall is like a couple weeks, like not even a month. And then you've got winter for like 2-3 months, maybe spring for a week, and then it's back to summer. So just trying to take in all these things into account for how I want to move forward with my wardrobe is something that I'm really into. I want to make sure that I'm planning and designing in the way that, is good for a cohesive wardrobe. And I don't know, there's just a lot involved at this point for me. It doesn't have to be that way, but it totally is. And a lot of that really is just based around my values of sustainability, slowing down, really trying to understand myself in this in-between time while I try and pattern draft and tailor and layer and play with color. I'm trying to figure out what my colors are. I think I'm a deep winter according to the internet, but I want to be better about just going into the store and seeing what colors look good against my complexion before actually buying it, because I don't fall for marketing campaigns when they say, hey, there's a sale at like Nordstrom or something like that. I don't fall for those anymore. That's great. What I do fall for are the sales that happen with fabric. And with yarn, it's starting to happen a little bit, but I've reeled myself back. And this is all just a really long way of saying what I was trying to say at the beginning, which is life has changed a lot for me in the last year. My baby boy, he's 8 months at this point, but in the last couple months, I found out that I don't have that kind of time to dedicate towards sewing. And I realized like a month and a half ago, after talking with a friend, that knitting might be a really great thing to get into since I'm just a little short on time. It's a nice portable project you can take with you. You can see it grow, which is great. I don't know, I just kind of ran with it. So yeah, I actually started learning. I started learning how to knit back when I was 8. It's been a long time. The difference between back then and now, though, is that there's this common theme happening these days in my life where I'm looking towards the professionals more. I say that kind of loosely. Professionals being like those who are advanced or really know what they're talking about. And man, I feel like there's just so many various stories popping into my head, but you don't need to know all of them. However, a couple of examples are like running. Running seems like a simple activity, but you know what ultra marathoners run like. They're so graceful. So that's like one example. And then maybe that's enough. I'm starting to look into tennis too and like people's forms. Sports for me in particular, like, yeah, sports. But now I'm kind of like, you know what? Sports are very graceful. I've always been into yoga. And I've always seen that specifically as a very graceful activity. But I've never really thought that for running or for tennis or basketball, any of those things. But it's there. It's totally there. I just don't typically immerse myself in that area. I digress. Anyways, the theme is looking towards the professionals and really getting a hold on what great looks like. So in the past, when I learned to knit, I was doing English style. My mom taught me that way, and it was great. It was a great way to learn, very uncomplicated. But I don't know, I just never really thought too much about like ergonomics, how I was holding the yarn, how I kept on whipping my wrist back and forth, which actually caused lots of wrist issues. And I progressed from like doing simple rectangular scarves to rectangular scarves with patterns in it, because there's like, ooh, look at all these things that I can do, which was fun. And then I progressed into socks many years later, because I started dating my now husband, and I was like, oh, how cute would it be if I made him a pair of socks? So just a really quick story, but I made him a pair of socks, and I didn't really think too much of it at the beginning. I was like, well, you just buy some yarn, you get your needles, you find a pattern, and you just knit it. Little did I know, after knitting one side and attempting the second one, I waited a little too long. This was a thought process back then. I had waited a little too long, and the second sock came out so much bigger. And so I just took apart that second sock and redid it until it like was close enough. But actually to this day, my husband still has it in his closet, and I'll maybe insert a picture here. But I blocked it, and it was bad. It was bad, but I gave it to him anyways, and he was very happy with it. But here's the difference between back then and now. It was a whole tensioning issue. The tension was completely off, which is why the sizes were off. I don't know. It kind of feels like hindsight 2020, you know? Why didn't I catch that sooner? Like, Annie, why didn't you work on your consistency? Why didn't you pick up on that? Why didn't you want to like just hone in on the foundation and like get that going? But yeah, when you're working on any article of clothing that requires like a pair of socks, a sweater that has 2 arms, you're gonna need to have like a consistent tension, and like loop construction matters, like making sure it is right and the same every time or similar. Mine was very off. Yeah, so that was a thing. Did I gauge? Did I get gauge? No, I didn't get gauge for my sock. And my project after that, I don't remember, but the one that I have next is this sweater here. It's the Winter Beach Cardi by Andrea Maury. I actually made this during the pandemic. And it's really cute. It's got cabling. I thought cables were really cool. I still do think cables are really cool. But this is what drew me in, and the pockets, and you can already see right here, the arm part is kind of wonky. It's not, I don't know, it's not consistent. It kind of balloons out where the stockinette stitches start here. And it's so much longer on the sleeve than the bottom of the bottom edge of the cardigan. So I had to fold this up, and it's just like so loose. I'm actually contemplating taking it apart and redoing it just now that I know so much more than I did like 4 years ago. But I'll put it on, and I actually think it's still pretty cute. So maybe I'll just keep it as like a at-home cardigan to keep me warm. It's actually really warm. I bought Brooklyn tweed because thought it was cool, seemed sustainable. Did pink because it seemed fun. Is this my shade? Not really sure, but. And you can see here that it kind of lifts in the back. And I mean, I could lower the edge so it's here, but it's not that even. I mean, I'm still very proud of it, but yeah. I don't know. I look back and I'm just like, this is a whole process. I messed up so many times when I was doing the cabling, and I'm just happy that I learned a lot from the project. That's honestly the best case scenario, right? Like, you learn from your projects, and I learned how to undo things and redo it in a cable fashion, and so it's pretty cool, right? There's that one. I think the ballooning speaks for itself. The other one, I sat down and I knitted this in 2 weeks because I just had so much time on the couch. There's a story behind that, but I had a lot of time. This one's a pom-pom pattern. I don't remember, I think it's called the Grainne, I don't know. But it's a what stitch is this? I've been saying stockinette so much that I don't remember what this one's called. It's the most basic one where you just knit back and forth. I can't remember. Okay, well, put it here. It'll be great. But yeah, this one actually looks really nice from afar, because this stitch pattern is very forgiving. I think I used a wool and a mohair to hold it together. But if you look closely, some of it, you'll see that, like this in particular, there's like a bigger gap. You see, if I stretch it out, you can really tell. The stitch definition was not even. Like, this one's thinner, this one's thicker, longer, which means that was looser. Yeah, you want that to be even across, and that was not happening for me. However, this is one of my prouder projects for sure. I'm gonna put it on because it's nice. Did I gauge this one? No, I did not. But I don't know, I think I just got lucky on it, and that's not what you want to base things on when you're trying to invest in your wardrobe. Like, I'm trying to spend my money on quality items that will last me a long time, which is why I'm a bit more of a stickler for how things come out. So I'll keep on undoing things until it looks good enough and or meet those my until it'll meet those requirements. I got things in the back. But yeah, it's pretty cute. I mean, I'm wearing this on top of a shirt, and this is kind of angled, but is this my color? I found out that this is supposedly not my color. I don't know, I think it works fine. If I just put like a blue button up in between, I think it works fine. Apparently warm colors aren't my color, and that's that. Anyways, this mohair is actually kind of itchy, and that makes me kind of sad. I didn't think about it before. And I guess you can't really tell until you like knit something up. That's part of the beauty of, you know, swatching a small part of the pattern and seeing what it feels like. I mean, testing at the store is one thing, and then knitting it up in a small swatch is another thing. That's a great way to just make sure you like it before you really commit to something big. Anyways, this is fine because I'll probably just wear a dress shirt under it. I have worn a dress shirt under it. I don't know why I say it as if I haven't done that. But yeah, this is one of my sweater projects. Anyways, okay, so this was my last sweater for myself. And actually last year, I thought it would be super cute if I made my baby his first sweater. And I think every single time I pick up a project, my MO is to kind of learn something new. It's to learn something new or like a small variation or something. So I decided that color work would be the thing to do. And you know what? Actually, I found a really good project last year that has color work, and it was just this tiny little motif across the chest. But it got, I don't know what happened. I was knitting it and I actually got pretty close to finishing, but I think it just wasn't looking right. So I took it apart months after he was born, AKA a month and a half ago, which is where all of this kind of started. And I re-knitted it and tore it apart and re-knitted it because it just had to be done. If you're using nice material, you need to do it right. When you're Annie, you do what you want to do. I'm not going to judge, but if you're spending the money, just get it to like a good place, right? Get it to like good. So I didn't get gauge on this. I don't know. I didn't think about it. I was just like, it'll be fine. And that was probably part of the problem the first time around. My mom beat me to making his first sweater, and that's okay. She's his grandma. She's great at knitting. Anyways, so I still need to block this and like weave in a couple of ends, but look how cute. Oh my goodness. So I ended up having to take it apart, and I made a newborn size the first time, but he is past newborn size, and so the next time he hits the winter time here he should be around the size of like 12 to 18 months. So that's the size that I chose. I actually ended up having to buy more yarn, and thank goodness I could find the same blue. But yeah, my first foray into color work, not bad, right? I think I got everything right except for one stitch in the back. And you know, when I say one stitch in the back, I mean like one of the whites. And you get a cookie if you find it, but no, I'm kidding. Actually, I don't remember where I messed up. I think it was somewhere in the leaf detail. Actually, it's right here. Yeah, it's not supposed to be so thick in the white right there. But I learned a lot. I think it's super cute. I do think the star pattern, this like pattern here, I did a little too tight up at the top, but I think blocking will help it. But it was with this project where I really learned how to finesse my tensioning. I found a video, and I will link it in this somehow, in this video somehow, because it was super helpful for me. I didn't mention earlier, but I don't do the English style knitting anymore. I actually do continental, and that's because I'm better for my wrist. I can knit faster, which is great. And it didn't make sense years ago, but it makes sense today because I practiced enough. And really, that's just kind of what it comes down to. If you really want to change your style, you'll find a way to change it. But yeah, like the stitch quality compared to like what I'm wearing right now, it's just so much better. Like the uniformity, like if I stretch it out, like that's pretty dang good, you know? So when I learned how to do my tensioning better, I ended up pulling the whole thing apart again. And I only got it good for the knit, not the purl, which is why my starter pattern is not as good. And then there's a whole tensioning issue with color work. Yeah, that's a project for another day, but thank goodness that was just a small dip in the water for that here. Yeah, I don't know. Knitting excites me a lot more these days because now that I can hold consistent tension, it makes me want to be a better knitter. Foundations are important. Foundations are so important. Yeah, I've been like learning about stitch types and like why you would use one over the other and bind off techniques, which is something I never really thought about, but it's super important. Based off of whatever project you're working on, it might matter more. Like for a sweater, I started getting into Ravelry again at the end of this project, and I heard petite knit everywhere, and everyone was talking about Italian bind off, and so I was like, ooh, what is that? So I did an Italian bind off for this, and like, holy smokes, the amount of stretch you get on this. Anyways, I thought that was a great thing to do. So I ended up doing Italian bind off for both the top and bottom because I came back and added this collar detail. Like, baby's not gonna have any issues getting his head through this. And that's great because they're so fussy about things going over their heads. So there's that. And then I got super excited and I decided to work again. I got so excited about knitting that I started watching all these YouTubers and they're talking about their summer knits, and I'm like, you know what? I've never even contemplated getting into summer knits. I should make a summer tank top, and I should make sure I know what fabric to use. Or saying fabric when you're dealing with yarn is like so weird because you make your fabric. So what yarn or fiber content to use. I went with a linen cashmere blend for my Audrey top, which is a petite knit pattern. Oh no, wait, hold on, what is going on? Oh, right, okay. And I actually finished this in like record time because I didn't have a phone for a week, and so it only took me a week, a little over a week to make this, and I would show it to you on. However, I haven't attached the strap. It's just missing the Kitchener stitch, and then I just need to block it. But I'm so proud of myself. And like, okay, we're just gonna hold on to this. But like, stitch definition is wonderful. Like, it just makes me so happy. I'm pretty excited to wear it. I just need to sit down and stitch it together and weave the ends in, and it's good to go. I don't know when I'm making another video, but in the next one, I guess I'll post a video of me wearing it. And I thought originally when I was going to like record myself that I would get ready and whatever, but this is just mom life. I had my hair in a ponytail all day, got weird ends whipping out, and I'm okay with that. Because, you know, when you deal with spit up and whatnot, this is not the worst. But anyways, yeah, I am so pleased. I'm like in this world where the world is your oyster and you can like customize everything and tailor and fit everything to your specifications. I actually did get gauge for this one, I'm happy to say, because I'm just spending a lot of money. It feels like I'm spending a ton of money because, yeah, fabric I'm so used to saying fabric. Yarn is not cheap. Making your things is not cheap. But you know what? I'm pretty sure I'll keep this forever, assuming it doesn't unravel. But if it does, I can just roll it back up, and that's kind of the beauty, right? Anyways, super happy and excited. I did make some adjustments because I have a shorter torso. I saw in the picture for the Audrey top that the armhole on her goes like all the way down here, and I'm just not into that. I'm scared side boob's gonna happen, and I don't need that to happen. So I made it a lot higher. So I think it hits me like here, kind of where the top of your bra would be. So that's not gonna show. It's gonna be great. So I'm pretty much done with that, and I think I already showed y'all how far I am on this project here. Pretty stoked because I don't know, I've never done any sweaters with panels, and now that I can get gauge and hold even tensioning, I'm not as scared. So I'm just going for it. I actually wasn't gonna do this right after the Audrey top. My intent was to actually make a cloud top because it's summer. I want to capitalize on that, but there was a sale, and I got this one, the sweater quantity for the Esther sweater, and it was just easier to deal with in the moment. But I did have my silk that I purchased because yeah, when I go in, I go all in. I went to Houston and found a yarn shop, and I thought they carried knitting with olive, but she did not carry knitting with olive. What she did have was a cone, many cones of silk. And so, me being me, with the value of keeping things forever, I went for it. I went for it. I already swatched, did a gauge. I got gauge on holding this double strand for the cloud top, and so my issue really is that because this is a cone and I need to hold double, I need to pull enough out to hold double, and that's actually what's keeping me from doing the cloud top. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. The lady who owned that store, I think it's called Nancy's Knits, she said that there was enough for multiple projects from this cone, which is pretty cool. I don't know, I think I was just really excited to start a project, so I bought this, but I think the next time I will be purchasing knitting with Olive's pure silk because I do like the sustainability factor there. I bought this kind of impulsively. I'm not sure about the color either. I think it's fine. I think it's fine. But if it isn't, I'm just gonna dye it. And yeah, I learned a lot about silk that day. A lot has happened in a month and a half. The silk making process is crazy. Like, they boil the worms alive, and then they take the silk apart because, yeah, I don't know this. I don't know what you thought you clicked into, but I will insert lots of random knowledge in these videos, and basically I'm going to continue. So with the silk making process, what happens is that the chrysalis, which is the silk that the worm spins around itself so that they can, you know, go through their metamorphosis, that is where the silk resides. And you don't want the thought process behind making pure silk is that you don't want the worm or moth to emerge because it means that they'll cut through their cocoon and then the fibers are broken, right? And so in order to get like a seamless silk, you want to keep it intact, and that is why they boil the whole thing with the worm inside, which is really sad because I did learn that millions of worms die for just like a pound of silk. So I will use this responsibly. I already have it, so yeah. That's kind of that. It is very grim when you think about your impact and what it takes to get material. So I will use this very carefully and make sure that it meets my standards, and I will keep wearing it because that's important, right? Anyways, knitting with Olive, I've yet to see any of that brand's yarn in the Austin area, but I've only gone to one store, so I think there's two specialty stores in town. Hill Country Weavers, which is where I've picked up my yarn for my Audrey top, which is Katia by Concept. Yeah, so that one's a cashmere linen blend. And then my Esther sweater, I'm using their yarn actually, and then I think I'm using La Bien Ami for the mohair, and this one seems way nicer than the one that I'm wearing right now. But honestly, like now that I've had it on me for so many minutes, it doesn't bother me anymore, so that's pretty cool. I think this was Birch and Bush. But anyways, yeah, knitting with Olive has a pure silk where they actually harvest the silk after the moth emerges, and I think that's really cool. So it's kind of like the pea silk that is used to make fabric. There's only the characteristic of it not being as shiny, and honestly, I don't really want really shiny clothes, so I think that's cool. We'll see where I don't know. I'm just like excited to make a lot of things, and hopefully my hands don't tire because I got a lot of things to make. I should probably switch back to this cloud top thing. I'm actually so deep in it that I bought a Swift and a yarn ball winder. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be a long time hobby. Yeah. All right, well, thanks for sitting and chatting with me. I had fun just chatting. This is a very rare time for me to sit and do this because I have a baby, and usually these days he's awake within 30 minutes, and so I'm actually very surprised I pretty much got a full hour in. So yeah, thanks. Hope you had fun just listening. If not, cool. If you have feedback, let me know. I don't know. I'm very into a bunch of different crafts, so people do knitting podcasts, but mine is probably just going to be a bunch of different crafts, if I'm being honest. Like, I flit around like crazy. So I guess I'll just kind of do a little about me at the end, which is not common. I don't go with the flow, y'all. Yeah, so I've dabbled in many different areas, and I guess the crafts that I've done, knitting, very apparent. I can crochet. It was never my forte because I can't line it up straight, but again, I haven't looked into the pros in that area, so maybe I'll do a foray into that, but for now I'm very happy with knitting. I've done woodworking. I still love woodworking. I just don't have the means to leave the house so much these days. You're actually sitting on top of a stool I made, which is, you know, I don't know, my dream is to like make everything of mine that I own. that pegboard I made with the CNC machine. That was pretty cool to play with. I'm into quilting. I'm into making clothes, like sewing. I love painting. I love embroidery. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of mixing. I've been seeing a lot of, what is it? Sweaters where people will put their designs in there. I'm like, why not? Why not do that? I don't necessarily want that for me, but like maybe I'll make it for like a friend or a friend's baby. I'm in that stage of life where everyone's just having kids. I'm into pottery. None of my pottery items are in here, but yeah. So should be fun, should be fun. So if you stick around, you'll probably see some of those things. All right, cool. Thanks for sticking around. Have a good one. Bye. A project in itself, but